Hello and welcome, everybody. It is time again for another Get Off My Lawn podcast. That means it's Thursday night. It's 8 o'clock. It's just maybe a minute or two past, but I won't tell. And it's 8 o'clock because we operate in Central Time, which is the only time zone that matters. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. We lost a guest. We'll get him back in here in a second. Real quick here before we take off, we want to make sure that the notifications do go out to everybody, and so we'll do a little bit of filler here. Of course, if you are out there watching live, we want to see you, hear you, or hear from you rather, and so put those comments in the live chat section and let us know that you're here. If you're new, let us know where you're watching from, because we like to know how far the reach gets. But you know what? Even if you're not new and you want to let us know where you are or let everybody else know where you are, you know what? That's okay too. We don't mind. So who's out there so far? I don't see any Facebook comments yet. We just went live on Facebook, so the comments weren't available until just now. Gunpowder Beauty's out there on the YouTube side. My beautiful bride, Sandhill's sweetheart, is out there. She's also in here in the producer's chair, where I'd say where she belongs, and I don't mean that like sit down, woman. I'm talking about this thing goes a lot better. Those of you that have been here before, you get it. We need her here, so I'm glad she's here. Mike is out there. Who else is out there? Gizzard Gary's in the house. Gizzard, I think you got a link. If you want to jump in, you go ahead. And you know what, Gunpowder, if you want a link, holler at Sandhill's sweetheart, and we'll make sure you get one. If you want to jump in here too, of course, everybody knows 10X Shooters in the house. I haven't seen you in way too long, sir. Guns and Barbecue. Okay, so you guys know the rules. Keep it PG-13. We don't want to get any age restrictions slapped on us, but because I think this is a discussion that should be available to all ages. It pertains to all ages. So a couple other things that I want to cover here real quick. We are a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. So make sure you're going over there to check not only us out, but you can get all kinds of cool freedom and firearm oriented podcasts. So go check that out, sdrn.us. And go see who all is over there, because the list is growing all the time. But you can find us. You can find Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Gun Freedom Radio is over there. And a whole bunch of really, really good ones besides those and besides ours. So go look at that when you get time. Not right now. You're here. So make sure you're hanging out with us. But when that's done, go see who else is out there. And then we are going live. And I think we're even, Facebook's up, YouTube's up. We're good to go. So that is possible because we have a few sponsors. So we want to thank tonight's sponsor, which is Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Riding Shotgun with Charlie is a great interview show that brings you right into the heart of intimate conversations where you can be a fly on the rearview mirror. The show's host, Charlie Cook, talks freedom, firearms, and anything related with guests from all over the country. Filmed within the safe confines of Charlie's stagecoach, passengers open up about their lives and what is on their mind. Riding Shotgun with Charlie is available on YouTube, Gunstreamer, and the OpsLens app, and most popular podcast platforms. You can visit ridingshotgunwithcharlie.com and be sure to check out his cool swag page with all new Riding Shotgun with Charlie t-shirts, stickers, patches, and more. And he's also the Gungram guy. So if you have seen that new, it's just blowing up, the Let's Go Brandon Gungram, where he's playing the trumpet, shooting his Glock. Well, actually, I think he's shooting several different firearms in that one. But go check that one out. Gungrams are very, very cool too. Same guy, great guy. I think most of us in the panel tonight have either met Charlie or gotten a chance to ride with him. He's a good guy. Don't tell him I said that. Don't tell him I was being nice. He doesn't need to know. But go check that out. And again, if you are just joining us, make sure you're commenting out there in the live chat. We want to know you're here. We cannot see you unless you're dropping those comments. So let us know you're here. All right. I think that's all of the housekeeping that I need to do before we get rolling here. We're going to go through and just say hello to our guests tonight. And we've got some familiar faces and some not quite as familiar faces, and even a new guy is joining us. So we're just going to start off with, as you're looking at the screen to the right of me, my left, but to the right of me, we've got Mike Piowarski, who is associated with many, many different things. It's my left. You're right, or your left. It's got to be your bowl.
I see you.
I don't know.
I'm over there. I'm here. Yeah.
We could do a Brady Bunch thing with this if we could just get coordinated. Wait a minute.
Wait, that would make me Alice? No.
Damn it! Not Pat would actually. Pat would be Alice at the. Anyway, for those of you that aren't looking at the screen, we've got all of the people up in little tiles on the screen. Mike, how are you?
I'm good, John. I'm good. This is a treat. Thank you for having me on. It's been been a fan, been a listener for a while. And this is really fun. This is great.
I don't get to hear that very often. It still makes my day when I hear that. Thank you. I don't even even if it's not true. Thank you. That's awesome. Well, let's just keep moving along here. We've got Defense Dad checking in from the capital city of Lincoln, Nebraska. How are we doing, sir?
Oh, I'm fair to middling. How about you?
Doing all right. Glad to be here. Glad you're here. We've also got the first of two Kansas people weighing in with us. We've got Rebecca Schmoy joining us. How are you doing, young lady?
I'm good. I've been up for a very long time, so I'm going to try to be involved in the conversation.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. If I need you to say anything, I'll be sure and call on you and kind of give a little build up so you can pay attention. We'll do our best to help you.
That's probably a good idea.
All right. Thanks for joining us tonight. From an undisclosed location deep underground somewhere near Nebraska or Kansas, we've got Pat in a bunker.
Hello, how's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. A little slow on the progress on harvest. It rained here a lot, but it affords me the time to be down here in the bunker with y'all. So thanks for having me on tonight, John. Appreciate it.
You betcha. And I love that avatar picture. Don't tread on my teepee. That's what that one says, I think. So
yeah, pretty much.
For those of you that can't see, it's a really cool Gadsden flag with butthead instead of the head of the rattlesnake, and he's holding an AR and maybe a 1911. Not butthead,
Yep.
Beavis, I mean.
Yep, Beavis.
No, it's Cornholio because the shirt's pulled up. So
yep, that's right.
It's Cornholio. Are you threatening me?
Dude, I'll teach you for my bone.
All right. Moving right along. Travis P11 is here, also from the capital city of Lincoln, Nebraska. He's everybody's favorite tactical teacher.
Hey, what's going on? How's it going?
Doing all right. You?
Good. Appreciate the invite, man. Thank you.
Man.
It's good to be here.
Yep. Glad to have you along.
All
okay.
Right.
And then we've got, you know what? We're just going to kind of represent half a Tornado Alley here tonight. We've got a South Dakotan in the house. So you may know him from shows like the Polite Society podcast or the Armed Society podcast, but you might even know him from cool stuff like AmCon. Paul Lathrop is in the house, everybody.
Hey, John.
How are you?
Thanks for having me tonight. I extended my bedtime tonight to stay up late to be on with you, man.
I appreciate it. And here's what happened, everybody. Paul was verifying the time, and he was willing to stay up even later. And I'm like, no, we don't. We start at 8 now, so that way we can get Paul to bed at a decent hour tonight. So
much appreciated, man. Much appreciated.
You betcha. All right,
it's Central Time. It's not that late. Come on.
Right. Okay, and also rounding out our panel tonight, also from Kansas, we've got everybody's favorite tactical foul. Gizzard Gary is in the house. It's been way too long since you were here.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for the invite, man.
You betcha. Glad to have you. And we have got the puppy in here tonight. So if I look like I'm distracted or I'm petting a dog over here, it's because I'm petting a dog over here. She needs loving. So looks like we lost Rebecca. Hopefully she gets back. She said she was having a few technical difficulties. So hopefully she comes back because I kind of want a mom perspective in here tonight. Okay. First things first, we're going to talk about this a little bit, then we're going to let it be. If you don't live under a rock, then you're probably aware. Hi, puppy. You're probably aware that there was an accident here last week on a movie set, and somebody was handed a revolver that had apparently a live round in it, which should never have happened. So that has created just a crap storm. I don't know what any other word for it besides storm. Of memes, of comments, of people just being ugly, flat out ugly. And it's really, honestly, it's a little shameful because we expect the anti-gun crowd to pounce on an opportunity to badmouth us, right? We know that's going to happen. They never let a tragedy go to waste. I had hoped that we were going to be maybe different, maybe a little better, but the number of Alec Baldwin memes that just overnight were flying around the interwebs was just crazy. No, lay down. And so it really made me realize that, yeah, our side's no different. The right and the left, there's not a lot of difference, and neither side really wants to admit that. But it's kind of sad. It's kind of true. So here's what I'm learning so far, and if any of you here in the panel have anything that helps me learn more, corrects what I know, then please feel free to chime in as well. What I'm figuring out is, first and foremost, I think we already knew this. I think everybody can agree, there is absolutely no excuse for live ammo to ever be anywhere near a movie set. I can't see any scenario where that's okay. And so it doesn't make any sense to me how this was ever possible. Clearly, way too many people were negligent. It sounds like they were trying to cut as many corners as they could and spend as little money as they could. The whole budget for the film, I think, is around $6 million, which is probably way less than Alec Baldwin typically makes on a movie, just himself. And so, from what I understand, they got a cut rate armorer to be on set, and then even at that, it sounds like the director or the producers were trying to cut costs even more and do things in an unsafe way. And I don't know that it was only the firearms, but I do know that I've heard reports that the lead armorer walked off and said, I'm out. I'm not going to be party to this. And so that left inexperienced people there. It seems to me like it's the perfect storm of unfortunate events, bad things that had happened. Everything led up to somebody died, and it's horrible. I think that's the first thing that people lose track of. Let's not forget, there is a husband and a little boy who never get to hug their wife, their mom again. I don't care who you are. I don't care who they are. That's terrible. And I don't care who you are. If you're the one who's responsible, even if it's not your fault, if you're the one who's responsible for somebody else losing their life, especially when you did not do it on purpose, I can't even imagine how that would feel. I know people that have been involved in car accidents where somebody lost their life, and it was through no fault of their own, but yet they still blame themselves. They still live with that feeling that, if only I had done this. So I know that there are bunches of people right now still playing the if only this, if only that, right? So let's not lose track of that. But there's still just certain things that I think that I take for granted that people know. Check it yourself. I don't know. I've heard both ways on this. Should Alec Baldwin have verified that the gun was cold? The original report that I heard was cold gun means blanks. I've also heard cold gun means empty chambers. Hot gun on a movie set means blanks, and there's never going to be a live round where there's going to be an actual projectile that comes out. Besides, depending on the blank, there may be the little cardboard piece that is inside the crimp that holds the powder charge down, the wad basically. I've heard that those do sometimes come out. John Schneider put out a video and said he's been burned by that before. So that does sometimes happen. I've also heard that once the armorer stages the handgun, the revolver, there's got to be dummy rounds, which is exactly what a dummy round is. It's an empty case with no primer, no powder. There's a bullet crimped in so that when you put the camera, or when you point the gun toward the camera, if the camera happens to catch the front of the chambers, then you can see that it's loaded. There are bullets visible in the chambers. And those of us who complain about how Hollywood gets it wrong all the time, well, that would be a complaint that we would make. They put those dummy rounds in for people like us who want it to look real. But then sometimes the gun has to have a blank in it too. They have to stage the chambers perfectly so that when the actor gets the gun and they pull back the hammer, that the right chamber gets rotated into place, and so the blank will go off when they need it to, instead of the hammer dropping on a dummy round. I've heard that if you hand the gun to the actor and they start fiddling with the cylinder, you just undid everything that the armorer had done. They have to stop and redo it. So I don't know what's right. I don't know what's true. On a movie set, I know one thing: the rules are different. I also think that some of the rules are universal. I think that more actors should learn how to shoot a gun before they ever hold a movie prop and film. I think that more people should be like Keanu Reeves and either go see Taron Butler or somebody and learn how to do it for real. Because if you learn with live fire, then when it is a pretend gun, I think that you're still going to remember and treat it like it is potentially a live fire, right? So the reason that I'm talking about all this to begin with is this is the catalyst. We can hate on Alec Baldwin for being anti-gun all we want to. Doesn't change the fact that he didn't mean for this to happen. And I'm sure that as much of an a-hole as he is, he probably still has a heart somewhere. And I'm sure that it's broken knowing what happened, and that he's right, Paul. I see that. But that's just it. He's still human. He might not be a good human in our eyes, but he's still human. And just imagine, how you would feel if that was you. But let's maybe try and find a silver lining to this, because I'm not talking about letting a tragedy go to waste. I'm not trying to use this as another arrow in my quiver of, see, I told you so, right? We're better than that. But what would happen if more people were given the training, the safety and responsibility background on a firearm? What if we were to go back in and reinstate firearm education, hunter safety, things like that in schools? What if people were actually taught these things? Mike, you were about to say something there.
No, and just going there. It's about the safety, and I'm not giving Alec Baldwin a pass on anything. You know, it's his stance on fervent anti-gun kind of stuff that's probably gotten people hurt and kept them from getting safety classes. And it's ironic that he gives money to Everytown for gun safety and receives money from Bloomberg. Yet the simple first 5 minutes of any safety class that he should have taken at any point, touching firearms on a set would have prevented this. You know, is he going to be, criminally liable for this? I have no idea. Civilly, definitely, but let's the issue is this firearm on this set. And again, I don't care who he is. I'm not out there creating memes. I'm not dumping on him like that, but he doesn't get a pass either. He's probably caused more firearms accidents. And now he's just the prime example of, the rules of gun safety. If they had just the first rule of gun safety, if that's all you remember, this doesn't happen, and I'm sure it's him, his personality, the low budget, and I've been the armor on a movie set, on TV sets. I've been the prop master there. I know these procedures. Him being the $10 million man or the $1 million man, whatever he's making on the set out there, is probably just enough to bully the guy or girl that's an armorer making $5,000 on the set, plus all the commotion, everything else that gone on. Anyway, that's all sidetracked. The bottom line is, if he had been exposed to the basic rules of firearm safety, this never happens.
Right. And anybody who has been following my Facebook page and seeing the posts that I'm making, I mean, if you follow those from start to date to current, you can see how my knowledge of the situation is evolving. I mean, some of the early posts or some of the later posts completely refute some of the earlier stuff that I had posted, because I'm learning as I go. And I am in no way saying that Alec Baldwin has zero responsibility here. And I think a lot of people misunderstood that. The only point that I've been trying to make so far is that movie sets have different rules than a typical gun range, because they have to. You have to be able to trust the armorer. You have to be able to trust that these are blanks. Again, there's no reason ever to have live ammo on a movie set. I just can't ever imagine why that would ever happen. So many failures stacked up here that ultimately led to this happening. And ultimately, I think that there are lots of guilty parties, right? But again, is that because they don't know any better? Even though they should, they work with firearms.
Well,
I mean, just because you work with firearms doesn't mean that you know a lot about them. I drive a car, but I can't work on a car. Like, I'm not a car guy just because I use one. So, Defense Dad, what were you saying?
Well, I was just gonna say. So first off, let's not forget, these are actors. They're people paid to portray a role that people assume they know what they're talking about, and they're actors. Who knows how much training he has had? I'm not giving a pass either. It's not. I'm not. It's just it's a different world they live in, and they probably some of them probably don't take the time to learn everything. They trust the person handing them the gun to tell them it's safe or whatever. To be honest with you, I almost didn't come on the show tonight, simply because I'm tired. The memes and everything. Like, as a dad, I can just imagine if it was my daughter and that was her mom that happened. All these stupid memes that people think they're funny about. Someone lost their life about it. So the memes have honestly been pissing me off this week.
Yeah, I totally get that.
That aside, there should be basic firearm. If you're going to handle a firearm, even on a movie set, you should go through a basic firearms class.
Yeah, I see that. I don't remember who it was. Somebody had said they're going to put legislation out that's going to
out in California.
Try to remove guns from Hollywood sets and all that kind of stuff. What would happen if every time there was an accident, we removed the equipment? What if there was a car accident while filming what's the next Fast and Furious to come out? Number 723. So what if Fast and Furious 723 Well, shoot, there was a car accident. It wasn't on set, it wasn't filming, but that's why one of the actors from that movie is not in the franchise anymore because he was racing a car and he got killed from it. What if that had happened on set? What if it wasn't the actor? Maybe it was a stunt person, but what if it was an actor who was like Tom Cruise and insisted on being the one to drive the car? And the car ended up taking that actor's life. Would we put legislation out that says you can no longer have cars on a Hollywood set because they're dangerous? Would we, if somebody's decelerator didn't work, and they went ahead and jumped off the roof, and then the harness didn't catch them, and they smacked into the pavement below, would we say, you know what, no more jumping off the roof with a harness? No, we wouldn't do that. We would make sure that equipment is better, that education is there, and that people knew what they were doing. And that's what I want to get to tonight is let's have the conversation, and not just here. I want to put the bug in everybody's ear tonight to go out and have the conversation of what do you think would happen if more people were aware of how to safely handle that tool, the firearm? Well, that's ultimately what we all want, right? Everybody here wants that.
Right. You just mentioned out there in California, it's where the new law is being put forward already. It's State Senator Dave Cortez, a Democrat, a pure anti-gun guy. We see this out of him in California all the time. He wants to ban ammunition on sets. Ban ammunition on sets. Sounds good, right? In cause, but how about we go to where you're wanting to go tonight, where we should be going, and let's talk about safety and teaching safety. How come he can't put forth a law that says let's have firearm safety start taught at X grade in the schools, and then we don't have to worry about this? Why is it we need one more law on the back end to prevent firearms accidents like this from occurring, or firearm or violence including firearms from occurring, rather than let's just go to the front end and teach firearm safety like we used to do?
Yeah, exactly right.
I need to jump in. Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mike, here's why I think that may not be a great idea, Mike, at least not yet. And that is this. I don't want Gertrude teaching firearm safety, the same Gertrude that demands the masks go on. I don't want I don't want unqualified people in public schools teaching firearm safety. You're okay. All right.
Well, Mike's masked up now.
I brought your mask, Paul. I got your mask.
Mike did put on a mask. It's a catcher's mask, but
and
whoa, hey, easy. Family show.
This day and age, it would take a special sort of teacher to be willing to take on that responsibility in the school with as Sue happy as people are. We got a teacher on this panel right now. I don't know. Travis, would you be comfortable teaching firearm safety in your school, or would you not want the liability?
Oh, absolutely. I've mentioned this years past. We've had chats about firearm safety and laws in school. I mean, if there was, whether it was a PTA group or whether it was a school board that, said I'd have to go through some sort of training, I would. But like you were saying there, Paul, I wouldn't want to have to push some sort of an anti-gun agenda. That's the thing that would scare me. It would be one thing to have like an NRA trained instructor come in and teach children that curriculum versus, something that somebody's going to pull up from, I don't know, what the Giffords Institute or Moms Demand Some Action or whatever they're called. So, yeah.
Okay, but I guess I'm failing to understand why anybody thinks a regular teacher, Gertrude, would be teaching this class. I don't think. Why not have a licensed instructor, a certified instructor, come in and do it?
Where are you going to find those in Chicago?
Well, Paul, listen, and I know where you're going, and there may be shortages some places, because they've been so long without that nobody's had the ability to receive any firearms training. But I guarantee in any core of teachers out there, there's going to be concealed weapons carriers, there's going to be firearms owners, there's going to be former military, there's going to be former law enforcement that would come forward. It's the same argument when you hear, well, we're going to put guns in school. Well, you can't arm teachers, you can't make them go and get a gun for the day. Nobody's asking them to do that. We're asking those that are qualified and that have experience and want to part in the program to come forward. And we're not ordering this to start tomorrow. Maybe this starts 2-3 years from now, Paul, after we've made the training available for those that are interested and can get qualified.
Right. And arming teachers is a whole different concept of in my mind, that's always been just give them the option.
Mhm.
It's the same thing for the instructors, though, right?
Just make schools no longer gun-free zones,
Correct.
and let the teachers be like any other normal legal concealed carrier.
Correct.
Again,
Correct.
that's a whole different night's argument.
Right.
I don't think you should have to have a permit for
Well,
that.
but the
again,
point being, that's a voluntary thing. We're not
let people make
mandating
their
that
own
those
decisions.
teachers carry
Yes.
guns. Yeah.
Let people make their own decisions.
Correct.
And that
Correct.
it could completely be an elective class. Just like you can opt your kid out of sex ed, you could opt your kid out of gun ed if you were that protective. I still think that parents should have the freedom to determine what their kid gets taught and doesn't get taught. But I think it should be offered. I think that more kids would benefit from getting this training and putting Eddie the Eagle in schools, putting Yehuda's book in schools, Safety On, something like that. Yehuda was going to be here tonight, and then he realized he had a prior engagement, so he's not here with us. But I want to give his book Safety On a plug. It's a great resource, even if I don't have kids, and I can see how cool it is. Those of you with kids, I'm sure, definitely can see that. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go. I think it's on Amazon. I think all his stuff's on Amazon.
Yes.
But Yehuda Reamer, it's Yehuda. His last name is Remer. He's got some great books out there. One of my favorites is his new one, Bullet Points: Why Americans Should Embrace Common Sense Gun Control.
It's full of incredible reasons, full of great reasons. Yeah.
Every reason that's in there, I agree with too.
Yeah.
He's dead
No,
on.
you're right. You're right.
But yeah, that's the discussion I want to have. So those of you who are parents, can you think of any reason? Travis and I think, are the only ones in the panel who are not. So I want to hear from the rest of you. Can you think of any reason whatsoever why having the option to teach gun safety and responsibility in schools would be a bad thing? And out there in the chat, if you've got reasons why we shouldn't do it, I want to hear.
I know we've talked about it on Arms Room Radio and a couple other programs that deal with firearm safety. And this is what I'm not sure I agree with the opt-out clause for this for parents, for children, because immediately their reason is going to be, well, we don't have firearms in my home, so we don't want to have that training. Well, it's not the firearms in your home that you have to worry about. It's not the firearms in the hands of your child that you have to worry about. Every time we hear about these tragedies that go on out there, it's always, the kid that comes out and says, maybe he has some knowledge. Maybe, listen, here's my dad's hunting gun, here's my dad's pistol, or whatever else. And then they hand it to the kid with no firearms training, and that kid thinks it's a Nintendo gun and pulls the trigger on the other kid standing there. It's never the kid with the knowledge. Now, They may have made a very bad choice of taking that firearm out because they were trying to show off to some other kids. But as soon as you put it in the knowledge, the hands that have no knowledge of safety, that's when it becomes, horrific, the results, right? So I don't like the idea of there being an opt-out in this.
That's part of the education, right? That's part of the education, is educating the parents as to why this is important.
Well, listen, and here it is. Let's make it part of safety. If you really want to do, if you have to do something, you really want to do something, and you want to stop, children from being shot with firearms, then let's put them through a firearms class. And if parents, you don't like it, then that's fine. Go homeschool them. Take them home. That way, they never have to worry about them seeing another child or a firearm ever the rest of their lives, because this is real life, and we have to face that.
Let's come up with ways to cut down on negligent discharges and accidental shootings, right? That's
correct. That's
some of the stuff that the parents are so afraid of. The notion that, and you're right, Mike, people are going to say that. I'm aware.
Yeah.
The notion that I don't want my kid to take gun safety because we don't have guns, that to me is tantamount to saying I don't want my kid to go through the DARE program because we don't have drugs in our house.
Right. I've got my head in the sand. There's nothing wrong. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. Yeah.
I don't want my high schooler to go through the sex ed. Now that's different if it's 4th grade, 5th grade. But by the time you're in high school, the kid needs sex ed, because you can't say, well, I told my kid not to have sex. That's all the education they need.
Just say no.
No, that ain't going to cut it. Unless you're involved and they understand the reasons for abstinence, they're not going to practice it. Not when their friends are pushing them to get whatever conquest or whatever is the case. It's been a long time since I was that young, but that's just it. We need to educate not just the kids but the parents too as to why this is important. But that's part of the process. So,
well, and I would venture to say that a lot, like the parents who would have an issue with it being taught in school, are also the parents that their kids, the only thing they ever learn about guns is from video games. And I don't play video games, so don't ask me which one specifically. But if you have kids that grow up and their only exposure to firearms is what they see in Grand Theft Auto or whatever the game is now, that's a bad deal because they think a lot of them think it's okay to run around and do that kind of stuff. My only question is at what age would it be more acceptable to most people to introduce it in the school? Like, how old would they have to be? Because there's some kids that aren't mentally mature enough to even take it seriously at blah blah age. So that's where I would wonder.
But again, I mean, there are already programs out there geared toward age-specific curriculum. When a kid's super young, the only thing they need to know is don't touch it. But how many kids never get told that? How many kids never get told if you see a gun, even if you're not sure if it's real or maybe it's a toy, you don't touch it. You go get a grown-up. That's as far as the education needs to go at a certain age. But that's a key part of the education that gets skipped so much of the time because there's nobody there to tell them. And then you find that, inner city playground where the kid finds a gun that somebody was running from the cops last night and ditched their gun as they were cutting through the park. And, little Timmy finds it. Well, has he had that training that said, oh, danger, don't touch? Or has he never been told about it and doesn't know any better? Yeah. Then you've got a situation where you've got to try and get the gun out of a kid's hand and convince them not to point it at you or themselves or anybody else.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, we've all seen those episodes of shows on TV, and I'm sure those of you that are raising kids have had that scenario run through your brain at some point when you're looking at, thinking about the what ifs. I know I do the what ifs, and I don't even have kids, so I'm sure that parents do. So yeah, no, it's just like anything else, drug education, sex education. At certain ages, they're too young to know certain details, right? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't say anything at all when there are people their age that are being affected. So at what age are they old enough to be affected by a firearm? That's what age they should start learning.
I'm just saying, I think it'd be a logistics nightmare for them to get the school board to agree on what age it's okay to teach it and that sort of thing.
But that's because there hasn't been a good curriculum developed yet.
Absolutely, because we didn't, people don't grow up with it anymore. It's just like they don't have shop classes, right? So because they don't have the funding, or people don't think it's important, that kind of stuff.
Because they're too busy shooting each other on Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty.
Yeah, and that comes to maturity, because I grew up in shop classes, and boy, there was a lot of kids in my class that I wouldn't trust them to hold a hammer, let alone a gun.
Yeah, they're still there.
There's still a lot of schools that have really good vocational tech programs out there. I mean, maybe some schools
there are, but
yeah,
a lot of them got their budget. Like, there's only one high school in Lincoln that has an auto shop because the budget's not there for anybody else. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I just don't know if the funding's there. I wish there was. I fully think there should be firearms training.
Hey,
I would almost say it needs to start in elementary school, because I remember doing the DARE thing when I was in 5th or 6th grade and seeing the pictures of drug addicts and having the highway patrol come in and talk to us and stuff. And I think that younger age, when, once especially right before middle school, that's when things start to change a little bit, especially before high school. So I'd say the earlier the better with me, with when to start training for kids. Yeah.
Gary, go ahead.
Well, I think I've told this story before, but many years ago, I worked with a lady in my office, and she had a son that was probably junior high age, let's say 12, 13 years of age. And she kept a small pistol in her bedside drawer, and her kids knew where it was. And they knew enough to know that it was there and that she never kept it loaded. Well, one night she was gone and the kids were home, and they had friends over, and the son went to show his friends his mom's gun, and got it out and was showing everybody, and he said, "Here's my mom's gun. See, she never keeps it loaded." Aimed it at a friend's head, pulled the trigger, and unbeknownst to him, my friend had a strange car follow her home for a couple straight nights, so she had loaded the gun. And yes, he did end up killing a friend. So it's not enough that your kids know that you have a gun. If you haven't drilled this, never touch it, never aim a gun at somebody for any reason, and keep your hand off the trigger. If somebody had taught that kid the basic rules of gun safety, he would have known not to pick up that gun and not to touch it, even though, he knew where it was. But, well, in the first place, yes, it should have been locked up and all that jazz. We know that. But still, if there had been somebody, some adult at some point in time that had taught, don't touch, don't aim at somebody. If you do touch it, don't, that wouldn't have happened and a child wouldn't have lost its life. So it happens to real people.
No, that's I don't think I've ever heard you tell that story before. That is horrible. I'm sorry that happened. Rebecca, I think you're with us. I'm seeing comments over there on the Facebook side that I know you're listening. As a mom, you've got a different perspective than everybody else on the panel. So what are your thoughts? Maybe she can't talk. There's a delay too. All right, we may have to come back. And Rebecca, if you can hear me and we just can't hear you, feel free to go ahead and put your thoughts out there in the chat, and I'll try to find some comments. I do see a couple comments out there from Rebecca. She had said Kansas tried to do gun safety curriculum and it was shot down in the legislature because it had ties to NRA, which is a horrible reason. I don't like everything NRA does either. That's no secret. But some of the stuff that they do, like safety education, is amazing, and it's some of the best because it's some of the oldest. Rebecca also says all instructors teach safety until such time as they can safely teach proficiency. In some cases, that's a 10-minute time frame. Sometimes it's 10 years, depends entirely on the student. So yeah, honestly, I don't think that live fire training needs to be part of such a curriculum, especially not at an early age. I think that the safety and the responsibility part needs to be taught, and at that point, at that young age, it needs to be don't touch unless you're with your parent or with a a qualified adult supervisor. But yeah, I don't know. I think that there's a need for that, and I think that if we could all get together and agree on such a thing, and by we all, I mean not only the pro-gun people here that are listening to me, but the school boards, the parents that don't have guns in the house. If everybody would just agree that we need to teach safety and responsibility, then a curriculum could be developed. And if just one district would implement it and be successful, it would snowball. It's not going to happen overnight, but I still see no reason why it can't happen. And that's something, again, if you want to do something, if you want to prevent this from happening, if just one life is saved, isn't it worth it to give it a shot? Why don't we try? That's just where I'm coming from on this, I guess. So I see no reason why it can't work, and I see no reason why it wouldn't work if everybody else would just agree that it's going to. But there's a right way and a wrong way. The wrong way is to do what they used to do with drug training or drug education. Before DARE, back in the 80s, the only things that I can remember as a kid going to school about drugs were things that were designed to scare me and make me think that drugs were the boogeyman, and if I was in the same room as drugs, that they were going to get me. And all that does is make me curious. Well, how is it going to get me? You know, what's they do the same thing with sex up to a certain point. Nowadays it's different. Now they're actually showing how-to films that somehow they claim aren't pornography. But back in the day, you know, again, it was one of those things where they didn't talk about it when I was in grade school. It was health class, and biology is the only time we ever talked about something like that when I was in high school. It was kind of, how do I say it? There was still the mystique was still there at that point, right? The only sex education I really got in high school was talking to friends who clearly were experts, right? I mean, you can trust your kids to learn about this stuff from their peers. That's the best way to learn. Said no one ever. But that's just it, is if you're not going to equip the kids with the not only the knowledge, but also the knowledge of safety and responsibility is the other side of the coin. And I keep hammering responsibility because it's not enough to teach kids how to be safe. You've got to teach them responsibility.
Well, that's it, right? That's it. It's teaching them responsibility. John, I took the same. You know, we're about the same age. I took the same classes. I took the Scared Straight. I took Just Say No. I took This Is Your Brain on Drugs. You know, that was it. But you know what? But look at you or I. We're not living in a heroin den around the corner in a homeless camp in Seattle either. Yeah. It seems like it may have worked for some of us. Okay, and I just to say it didn't work at all. I got to give it some credit. It's what we had. It was the best thing we had at the time. Have we learned from then? Of course we have. We learn every day, you know, on how to make things better. And I think we're at that point now with firearms safety where we should be pushing this forward. You know, we've seen this. Look, it's going on in Ohio right now with Ohio's Faster Saves Lives, right? They're who would have thought 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we could have taught teachers how to move tactically and medical tactics through an active shooter scenario. Nobody ever would have thought that. You've got right down the street from you guys in Ohio. You got the Gibson girls that help pass the gun safety laws and get guns approved for so they could take firearm safety. You couldn't even get firearm safety in Ohio if you were under 14 years old because it was illegal for them to touch a firearm. And they get that law overturned. So now they can go compete, they can go hunt, but they can also get the firearm safety now. I think there's enough. And then there's a lot of questions. Like, I don't know what age, I don't know what group, I don't know where we start. Maybe it's starting with like Derek LeBlanc does with Safe, Guns, the name of his program,
Kids Safe Foundation.
Kids Safe Foundation. Thank you. Where he does do the hands-on, and then to take that little bit of curiosity out, and then tells them, "Don't touch it again unless you have a parent." I taught my kids. I don't care if it's a Nintendo gun with a wire coming out of it. If you're at somebody else's house and they show a firearm, a gun, you get an adult and you get it verified. You know, that was just my method. Maybe we do it, in sixth grade when they start middle school, and we do it again in ninth grade when they start, the high school. I don't know. There's child psychologists. There's a lot of brainy people out there that could tell us when. But I think it's our job to continue to batter the school boards and everybody else that we must have this. Mm-hmm. Let the smart people figure out how to implement it. But if they're not, nobody's going to try and figure out how if we don't tell them we want it.
Exactly right.
And we should have it, because here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that think they know how to, like parents. There's parents out there that think they know how to handle a gun, and they shouldn't be teaching their kids how to do it. How many of you can say you've never been in a gun range where someone who supposedly knows what they're doing flagged you or did something stupid, and they did, and sometimes those people are the ones supposed to teach your kids, or a couple of us have YouTube channels on here, right? So most of us do. Have you seen how many new gun owners have you seen that start a YouTube channel and the stuff they're doing and putting on the internet is the most unsafe crap ever? I don't want them teaching a kid how to shoot. So
Right.
yeah, we should have education by someone who's qualified. So honestly, so the kids know what the hell they're doing, and maybe they can go home and say, "Hey, mom, hey, dad, that's not how we do it."
Yeah. And it's got to
how
be
cool would
a
that be?
mandatory class, a core class, just like taking, reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's got to be a core class. Can't be one of these opt-out deals. Otherwise, you end up with, half the people dead because they didn't get the class. That's just the way it's
Well,
got to be.
I think driver's education should be a mandatory class too, even if you live in a place where you don't own a car. But who's to say you might need to use one day in a case of an emergency? And at least having that knowledge of, oh, look, gas, brake, steering wheel. Yeah.
It was mandatory when I was in high school.
Well, it was when I was too, but that's because I had to get in my own vehicle and drive 22 miles to get to high school every day. So
Yeah.
I didn't need driver's ed class, but I still had to take it.
Right.
But my high school also had, at the time, what did we have? 70, maybe 70 students. The county had an even 1,000 people roughly. So
Wow.
I came from a place where drugs were not that rampant where I came from. I didn't know anybody that even had them, let alone did them. Or I didn't know where to even get them when I was in high school. So that's probably the number one reason why I'm not a junkie, is because I didn't start at a young age. I didn't start drinking either in high school. I did know where to find booze, but it just wasn't for me. But that's just it, is the things that I didn't start in high school don't have issues. I don't have those issues now with alcohol, with drugs, things like that, because that is the impressionable time of your life. And so if you can get the young impressionable kids to start thinking safety and responsibility with firearms, again, maybe they'll never hunt, maybe they'll never shoot, maybe they'll never have one in their house for home defense, but maybe they will. This isn't even about trying to get more people to own guns, and that's going to be one of the big arguments from the other side is, well, they're just trying to push their agenda and put a gun in every house. Okay, but what's the problem? If people know how to use it responsibly, how is this a problem?
In Iowa, when they tried to get the law done, remember this is led by the two young girls, Natalie and Meredith Gibson there. They were called by the legislators up there in the state a toddler militia. It's just funny you say that, because they said, well, why would I want to train a toddler militia, was the response from elected officials in the state of Iowa.
Wow. Wow, good times. Okay, do we have anybody else? Pat, you haven't really chimed in a whole lot. Do you have anything that you want to add in here?
I'll try to keep it short.
You don't have to.
First things first, on the Alec Baldwin deal, there was a breakdown. There was a screw up. Now, which way it went, I'm not sure, and I have not seen any of the memes. I've tried to keep myself out of that particular situation and just let it unfold until I know exactly what has happened on it. So I'm just going to keep my comments to myself, even though Alec Baldwin is Alec Baldwin. So I'll just let it rest there. As far as the gun education, here where I grew up at, yes, it was one of the classes that you did have to take, but it was hunter education, and it had just a lot of good bullet points and stuff, and it got you your hunter education ID and everything, and taught you to how to respect the weapon and everything. And that's what I teach my kids to this very day. They help me. They do not touch any of my guns unless I say they can, and they help me load magazines. And that's actually how I got two of my kids to start counting. So it was kind of a fun exercise, and I've told that story before on this show. As far as opting out or opting in on it, I'm kind of torn both ways on it, so I really don't have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I think that it should be mandatory, but I think that we've got a lot better chance of implementing it if it's not.
Baby steps.
And that's a
steps.
concession that
Yeah.
that I can see. I can see the merit of making that concession and getting it to be elective to start with, but then
Yep.
eventually it should be moved to mandatory.
Yeah.
Baby steps. Let's get in it.
Yeah, I think Rebecca brings up a pretty good point. We teach children safety in every other regard: sex ed, driver's ed, DARE, cooking and home economics, etc. It is strictly political that we are not equipping children with tools to keep themselves and others safe. If you want to keep the gun safety past your school board and into the classroom, you need to run for your local school board or find. Sorry, screen shifted on you. Run your local school board, like-minded folks to run. You have to change the face of your school board if you want to affect real change in the classroom. And I 100% agree with Rebecca on that. I mean, if you're in an idyllic, if you're in an idyllic situation where you can do that, or from the small town that I'm from, it's probably a lot easier. But you get into the big cities and stuff, or just even bigger towns from where I'm at. Yeah, it can be hard. But at the same time, she makes a really good point. We teach safety on everything else. Why not handling guns?
Yep. Defense Dad out there in the YouTube chat, I like your comment. You'd like to see a course that involves the students and the parents. A lot of parents out there know nothing about guns either, and you're dead on accurate with that. That's very true.
Well, that's part of what I was saying. I typed that before I talked about it, but it's you've got. I mean, how many millions of supposedly new gun owners last year? Now they have guns
in the last 18 months, roughly 12 million.
Right, and you've got some of them who have bought a gun, maybe gone to the range a couple times. They don't have the proficiency to teach their own kid, so they need a. I'm not saying it should be required, because that gets into saying that's mandating, training for gun owners. But if you're gonna try to teach your own child how to teach a gun, to shoot a gun or gun safety, you need to know the basics yourself before you're ever responsible enough to teach someone else.
Yeah, amen to that. The Gunpowder Beauty actually commented on your comment. So many parents are quick to drop their kids off and let them take their class and come back. We need more parent involvement. We could seriously right almost every wrong in this country if we just had more parent involvement. Simple as that. If parents raised their kids instead of expecting the school teachers and the video games and MTV to raise their kids, we'd all be better off. I was raised by my parents, and that's another big reason why I'm not a junkie. So absolutely. Plus, I had both parents in my house, and I may step on some toes when I say this, but you need to have both parents. And if not both parents, then you need to have both roles. You need to have a father figure and a mother figure in your life if you are going to be well-rounded, well-adjusted. And anybody that doesn't agree with that, you're welcome to your opinion, but I'm not changing mine.
I'll disagree with you on that to a certain point. Coming from I grew up with a single mom. I did have my.
Did you want to do that now or off camera?
I'm doing it now. So my single mom. I had a grandpa involved, granted, but in my case, and there's a lot of cases, the best thing my mom ever did is get me the hell away from my dad.
I'm not saying it has to be your dad. I'm saying you need to have a father figure. If grandpa filled that role, then good. But every boy needs a man to teach them how to be a man. And I'm talking about truly masculine. If it's masculine, it's not toxic. If it's toxic, it's not masculine. So I'm talking about boys need to learn how to become a man from another man. Girls need to learn how to become a woman from another woman. And anybody who the lines between boy and girl are blurred, I don't know, because I don't have experience with such a thing. I don't know how that feels. I'm not the expert there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's some. For me, you're better off having that kid grow up with just a mom than a abusive or horrible person as a dad. Even if you don't have if you're not lucky enough to have a grandma, at some point you're going to learn that stuff or you're not. But on that point, it's not always best to have that
Sure.
both parents around
But
because
if-
they
but
are
if you-
detrimental to the child's upbringing.
If you don't have that figure, then again, you're back to learning from the peers who may not be in any different situation, and that's where things can go wrong. I'm not saying that every kid's friends are full of it. That I'm not saying that every kid doesn't have friends who are good. I'm just saying that in my mind that you still need to have somebody to fill those roles. Well, Cat's going crazy.
Yeah, it's somebody that can be honestly that can be a pastor, that can be someone, but
Mhm.
what you originally stated was best to have both those roles in the house, and that's not the 100% situation.
No,
where
not
it's
in the
good for
house,
people.
in their life.
Okay.
In their life. Travis, as a teacher, could be that mentor to one of his students and still be that person, that man that the kid can go to and talk to, and never have a relationship with the kid's mom other than parent teacher conferences. It's not like that, and it doesn't have to be in the house, but every kid needs that.
Yeah, and I know some. Honestly, I know some single moms that can teach their boy how to be a man more so than their own fathers.
Right? No, I agree with that 100%.
I work with one. She's got 4 boys.
Yep.
And she can teach her boys how to be a man better than their father can.
Yep, absolutely. No, and that's again, probably because nobody taught their father how to be a man. So anyway, we're not going to get into gender roles tonight. Maybe one night we'll have that discussion and see how many people we can make mad. But no, there was another comment. Where did that go to that I was trying to find here? I know it was from Patriot in the Dark. Where'd it go to? This one right here. Patriot in the Dark says, everyone knows you train them as toddlers so they can carry your stuff.
Well, duh.
Ammo bearers, little
Yeah.
bitty ammo bearers. That's what they're there for.
Gun caddies.
Yep. Yep.
All
You
right.
teach them to clean the firearm when they shoot it. Otherwise, they're like, Daddy, can you clean my slidey gun? No. You clean
Or
your
you'll
own
be
guns.
like,
Teach
I
them
had
all the
never cleaned a
attachments.
gun
They can
until
load
I
all your
was
stuff out for you.
right. I didn't know how to clean a gun because my dad never taught me, because I don't think my dad has cleaned a gun since. I'm pretty sure the last gun my dad cleaned was owned by Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
When he also was owned by Uncle Sam for those 2 years. So this was in the 60s.
Yeah, and some of those Nerf guns, man, they are a real bear to clean. I'm telling you.
I know. They get so gummed up with sticky, candy residue and stuff like that, marshmallows, whatever else goes in them.
I ended my kids' curiosity on firearms like on the spot when I told them, no, you're allowed to use them whenever you want. You just have to clean them. And they were like, why do we have to clean them?
Right.
So they were done.
I love
They were
cleaning
done.
the guns.
I love doing it. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's therapeutic.
it's my favorite cologne is Hoppy's number 9, right?
Right?
A little behind each ear,
I wear a Palestol for men.
I got 3 of them to clean, John. If you want to, I'll send them over to you.
Yes, do. Yeah.
Took the kiddo shooting Tuesday, so they're still dirty.
I'll clean them, and then I'll dirty them, and then I'll clean them again.
There you go.
I agree with Mike. Hoppy's number 9 is definitely the way to go.
It's got that copper ting to it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah,
I actually
mix
mix.
it on the skin. It brightens it up just a little.
I like to mix my smells. I like to do a little bit of Hoppy's number 9, but then I also like to splash on a little bit of break free CLP.
Oh no, yeah. If it's time to get serious and work out, yeah, we're going CLP. Yeah. But if I'm getting all fancy, it's Hoppy's number 9. Yeah.
Ooh,
There it is.
Somebody's got to pull out the Otis wipes.
Travis, you're
Travis,
muted. You're muted, man.
Travis, we can't hear you. Travis, you're muted. Didn't hear a word of
Oh
that.
man, I just ruined my entire shtick. I was saying if you have a small child and you're out of wet wipes, these make a great substitute. They prevent chafing and stuff like that. So yeah.
I've actually got not those, but in my range bag, I've got the canister of lead removing wipes that goes with me to every range trip too. Those are great.
John, you've won my drawing like 3 times. You probably have 3 cans of this floating around, don't you?
Just one. You've only given
Just
me
one.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's yeah. Nope, I've got it. Where'd that comment go? Agorizer. I like this one. Honestly, it's not rocket science. The 4 rules are so simple a caveman could understand. Anyone who can teach someone to drive can impart gun safety, assuming they are willing to learn themselves. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be certified instructors, but I don't see why we wouldn't. Or if not a certified instructor, then again, have part of the process be, teacher can get that certification to be able to teach that to the kids. So.
I know you said the 4 rules of gun safety. I'm politicking there now and lobbying for the 5th rule of gun safety. And I believe it should actually be rule 1A, and that is never give your guns to the government.
Right. Who is it that who is it? I don't remember. I hear somebody quote somebody else all the time. I think it's Charlie Cook is always quoting, and I can't remember who said this, so somebody help me out. Anybody who would it's Charlie Cook likes to quote Ken Blanchard. That's what it is. Ken Blanchard. Yes. I'll paraphrase this, and I'm still going to mangle it, but anybody who gives you a gun is family, and anybody who wants to take your gun away is an enemy.
Very true.
So I knew if I stammered enough, I'd come up with the right names and everything. So yeah, I heard Charlie say that a lot.
What if you give your kid a gun, but you like shooting it so much they never get to really shoot it?
Then it's a TX-22.
There you go. Although she keeps trying to steal my 1911, so there's that.
Oh man, have you tried waterboarding? Just a question. I could never suggest such a thing.
I'm going to give parents a tip here, though. So everybody knows, you start your kid off shooting a 22 just for safety and handle recoil and everything, right?
Sure.
At a certain point, you start graduating them towards bigger calibers, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do it later, because then all they want to shoot is the bigger calibers. That's way more expensive.
So what you're saying is make sure that they shoot a 22 until they move out of the house and have their own paycheck.
Yeah, because my kiddo loves shooting 22, but she's like, can I have a 19 millimeter or a 9 millimeter 1911 like yours, Dad?
Well, I mean, at this point, 22 and 9 mm are the same price, right? So
just about.
I totally agree with Defense Dad on that one. Got my 11-year-old doing about the same thing, and now all she wants to do is shoot the bigger caliber stuff. I feel your pain, Defense Dad. I feel your pain.
Well, we don't have that issue, but I still want to gripe about the fact that 380 costs more than 9. I understand that they don't make as much of it, but why 380 shouldn't cost more than 9 millimeter? And that's
because it's poor planning on our part doesn't mean I should be paying more.
Right, exactly.
Shouldn't it cost less because there's less powder in it?
Exactly. Less brass, less powder, less lead. Exactly.
Yeah, less materials, takes the same amount of effort to load it. So yeah, I don't see why this should cost more, because that's what my wife shoots and that's what she likes. And the thing is, people can poo-poo 380 all they want, but if she likes to shoot it and it's fun, then I'm good with it, because I would give her a 22 to carry if that's what was fun for her. It's still better than wishing she had a gun.
There you go.
You know what that impresses me the most, though? I just admitted to all of you guys that I have a 1911 that's a 9 millimeter, and nobody gave me crap about it.
Well, because we all know you better than that. So we don't expect you to be that masculine. You just admitted you didn't really have a dad. So
yeah. Well, I had one. He didn't need to be part of my life. But I do have a PPQ in 45, so there's that.
No,
the 9 millimeter 1911 was just cheap.
I don't care, and that's just it. In here, we can have fun, but everybody that knows me knows how much I hate the people that are hardcore, that actually would unfriend you because your 1911's in 9 and not 45. Like, come on, this is the reason why we can never get traction. This is the reason why they laugh at us as they take away our freedoms, because we're not smart enough to rally. So
Well, and to be honest, the only reason I own it in 9mm is during the height or during the beginning of the gun shortage. It was only $435.
right. Rebecca says her 15-year-old's on a trap team. That gets expensive. Even if you reload, that gets expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've known people that used to shoot 4 nights a week and reloaded the other 3, and even back when components were cheap, it got expensive. DJ Play Nice says 25 ACP for the win. So there you go. Pat for the win. Pat BB gun for the win, I think. So Patriot also wins the internet tonight. I don't think we're going to get a better comment than this. I thought the 5th rule was to verify a weapon's clear if an armorer hands you a cleared firearm.
You know, I got to tell you this one real quick.
That's 1B.
There's a gun store. It's not there anymore. We ended up buying out all their stuff, but it was a gun manufacturer in Central Florida, and it had a sign as you walked in the door, and they were so proud of themselves over this sign because they were trying to incorporate all rules of gun safety into one quick, easy sentence. And the sign they came up with and the slogan they had on their wall was "Clear all firearms before handling."
That makes sense.
Sure. I just want you to clear that firearm before you handle it.
Yep, inside the store.
Just clear all firearms before handling them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just make that happen, and we're all good. I guess you got a Jedi mind trick to gun clear. I don't know.
Yes. Well,
you're not allowed to handle it.
The thing is that I swear it's empty. I swear it's unloaded. So just trust me. Well, the comments are getting good tonight. Keep them coming, everybody. Gunpowder. Okay, on a serious note, it doesn't matter what the caliber is. If someone's willing to use it to protect themselves, that's
right.
all.
As long as it's a 45, yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
It's the Lord's caliber. It's what our Savior carried.
Back-to-back World War champion. Greg Chandler out on Facebook says the first rule of gun safety should be have a gun. That's the first rule of a gunfight.
That's right.
Have a gun. So let's see.
I want one of those 223 calibers that Walmart banned.
Oh, those are good. Cheap too.
I want the ghost gun that doesn't show up on not the ghost gun, the Glock 7. That
with the porcelain barrel.
Yes.
Doesn't show up on airport metal detectors.
That's
costs
right.
More than you make in a month.
Oh, those were the old Glock 7s. Yeah, the porcelain, the ceramic. Oh, yeah. Yep.
So who in here was in Cub Scouts? Because I know
Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. Yep.
Yeah, by the time I was 11, 12 years old, not only had I been through hunter safety class, we also had a whole section on gun safety and stuff like that in Cub Scouts. So add that on to what my dad taught me, because I grew up in a household where we went hunting and, we had shotguns and stuff like that. So you were quite familiar with what you can and should do and what you absolutely shouldn't do with a gun by the time we were fairly young, and didn't preoccupy my mind with anything bad or good. It was just something you learned right along with everything else. And just hardly opportunities like that anymore. Kids don't go to Scouts. Hardly ever.
Same with me, but after the Lincoln administration and Lincoln's assassination, I'm sorry, that just kind of went by the wayside.
Wow.
I knew you were old. But
Paul was personally interrogated about where was John Wilkes Booth. It came to his house. Yeah.
Hey, John, I got to hop out. So thanks for having me.
Hey, Gary, thanks for being here.
You betcha.
But think about this real quick. Think about this. The parents that would be against.
Ready to wrap things up here. Okay. I don't see. Oh, Gunpowder. You know what? I'm going to call bull on this one. Gunpowder just wants one of everything. That I believe. Not asking for too much. I will totally share with Tardot. I promise. No, I know better. That's why Tardot stays locked in the basement, so Gunpowder Beauty doesn't have to share the guns with him, and she gets all the ammo. So we understand. Well, you know what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wrap things up and give everybody a chance to do any final thoughts and shameless plugs. But before we do that, one more time, we want to thank our sponsor for letting us go live on the Facebook and YouTube tonight. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Riding Shotgun with Charlie is a great interview show that brings you right into the heart of intimate conversations where you can be a fly on the rearview mirror. The show's host, Charlie Cook, talks freedom, firearms, and anything related with guests from all over the country. Filmed within the safe confines of Charlie's Stagecoach, passengers open up about their lives and what is on their mind. Riding Shotgun with Charlie is available on YouTube, Gunstreamer, and the OpsLens app, and most popular podcast platforms. Visit Charlie on the web at writingshotgunwithcharlie.com and be sure to check out his cool swag page with all new Riding Shotgun with Charlie t-shirts, stickers, patches, and more. And as you guys know, I was recently featured, I think episode 122, if I remember right. I got to ride shotgun with Charlie, but for the last, year and a half or so, we've had his sticker up here. So Charlie rides shotgun with me every week. So not everybody can claim that. Plus, we've got not only the riding shotgun, but we've got the Gungram guy up here. I like to imagine now when I look at that, I think he's playing Let's Go Brandon. So it's got to be it. So go check out Gungrams as well and check out the Let's Go Brandon video. So thank you, Charlie, for helping us go live to the masses. We are out there going live tonight to tens of people, and we love it. So let's just go back around the horn and give everybody a chance to wrap up with any closing thoughts and then shameless plugs and links and all that. So Paul, we'll start with you. Any final thoughts? And then where can people find more of what you have to say?
Final thoughts, man. My final thought is it's way past my bedtime, I guess is my final thought. I just want to reiterate a little bit of what you said earlier about the Alec Baldwin thing. It is first and foremost a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And one we hope that is learned from and never, ever, ever happens again. Shameless plug, you can catch me at 5 p.m. Central Time, the only time zone that matters, on the SAF's YouTube and Facebook channels with the Daily Bullet. Mike was generous enough to give his time earlier today when he joined me on the Daily Bullet, and was generous enough to ask me early this morning to come on with him and Craig when we recorded his show. And so he and I have seen an awful lot of each other. Mike, we got to quit running into each other like this. People are going to start talking.
Our wives are definitely talking. I already heard them having a conversation. So,
well, Paul, thanks for being here, and glad to have you along with us tonight.
Yes, sir.
Let's move over to the bunker and talk to Pat here. Any closing thoughts for you, sir? And where can people find you?
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the good conversation tonight. It was definitely a lively one out in the chat and in here tonight. So just wanted to thank everybody for coming on tonight. You can find me on YouTube at Pat Hirsch. Hopefully got some gun reviews, the 500 rounders on the SIG and the Smith & Wesson that I've got, and got a couple new videos out right now, so head on over there and check those out. Not necessarily gun related, but had a cool visit from a fellow YouTuber out there from the great state of Michigan out there. So it was good to finally meet him. So I just want to say everybody stay safe and carry your weapon.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, Pat. All right, Travis, we'll move over to you. You're still muted, though. I don't know if you're talking or not. He might be on a phone call. Actually, I remember him saying he was on a phone call and he might not be back yet. So we'll skip Travis for now. Defense Dad, we'll go to you.
Oh, thanks for having me. It went in a pleasantly different direction than most of the chats I've heard this week about started with topics like this.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
As far as where you can find me, I put a couple. I learned how to do shorts this week, so I'm talking YouTube shorts. So I put 3 of those out. Those are doing well. You can find me on YouTube, and that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for being here tonight. All right, Mike. Final thoughts, and then where can people find you?
There we go. John, listen, just a pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It's been a treat. I enjoyed hanging with you and the guys and Rebecca. It's been a good time. And again, Paul and I think this is our 3rd program today together. So it was a good time. By the way, riding shotgun with Charlie number 104. I hear that's a great one. Watch that one. You'll watch somebody carry a shotgun with Charlie for the first time. And it was a Serbu super shorty. So it was good stuff with Charlie. Love Charlie. And
I wanted to be the first one until I found out that you already did.
And Mike knows all about super shorties.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but Paul, it's 12 gauge wide. So all right. Let's
family show.
It's a super short. He says, let's see. You can catch me on the rundown every day at 5 p.m. That's over on the Facebooks and the YouTubes. Still getting used to that. Been doing it a couple of months with my good friend and co-host Craig DeLuz. Obviously, Arms Room Radio every Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And by the way, Eastern Time is the only time that matters. Six Flags on the Moon, all launched from Eastern Time. That's all I'm saying.
It's not in the center.
And then, of course, I'm a featured player on the Daily Bullet on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern.
The launch pad can be anywhere when it's controlled in the central time zone in Houston. So
because it takes an hour for the signal to get back from the East Coast.
That's got to be it. And Rebecca did have to obviously drop out too, but she had dropped a comment over there on Facebook. Let's do this again when she doesn't have storms raging overhead, messing up her connections. Paul, please give her best to Susan. Olivia, thanks for keeping it all running. Yes, she is the best producer ever. And you can find Rebecca at Rebecca Schmoy, 1MMAGC Mom. You can find her at 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control, and you can also find her very regularly. You can see her face in pictures on the DC Project pages as well. So go look for Rebecca Schmoy, 1MMAGC Mom, or also just 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control. Those 2 pages on social media, and then DC Project all over the place too. Very cool organizations, all of them. And Gizzard Gary, make sure you're going and checking his stuff out too. Very easy to find, just Gizzard Gary. He's on all the normal places, I believe, too, and he's doing a couple live shows a week. There's Fowl Territory. Fowl is like a bird, FOWL. And then he's also doing the early bird chat. That's right. So he's got a couple different live shows where, you know what, if you're listening and you've got something to say, hit him up in the comments and get him your email address. He'll shoot you a link and just let you come and talk. He's very cool about that. So anybody that wonders how you get invited to this stuff, you got to get your feet wet somewhere. So hit somebody up and see if you can be a guest on their show. And as long as you can abide by the rules of that particular program, then you may get invited back, especially if you've got something worthwhile to say while you're there. So that's how I got invited back to some of the other stuff, and now here I am inviting people to hang out with me. So anybody that wants to help us out can do so. If you want to give us your money, you can. There's ways to do it. Just look in the description of this video. More importantly, if you want to help us out, I really want you to share the video, talk about it, give the link to everybody and have them watch it too. If you loved it, hit that thumbs up button. If you loved it, go give us a rating. I don't say this enough, especially on Facebook. Go rate the page. Give us those 5 stars. That's awesome when you do that. If you're listening to us on audio, on podcast form, wherever you're listening, please go give us a review, a 5-star review, and a good rating. Help us grow that way. But just share the heck out of this wherever you're seeing or listening to it. Please share the link with everybody that you know. That's going to be it. Do we have a list tonight? Oh, we're updating the list because people are still hopping in there. Let's go through the list real quick as soon as it is ready. And again, we're not going to read your name if you weren't commenting. So make sure that everybody out there gets those comments in, is part of the discussion. That's why this is better than a TV program or a radio program, because rather than just screaming at the TV and they can't hear you, you can actually type, we can see it, and we can respond if it's a comment that applies. So over on YouTube, we had Gunpowder Beauty, Mike, Gizzard Gary, Defense Dad, 10X Shooters. Good to see you back, Rich. Guns and Barbecue, Gun Loving Grandpa, Pat Hirsch, Clover Tack, Blitz, Travis T, Warsaw Patriot, Agorizer, Patriot in the Dark, DJ Play Nice, The Wanky Marshmallow, and Tara Smith. And then over on the Facebook side, we had Greg, Michael, Dan, Dennis, Rebecca, another Greg, and Michael. I don't know who that Michael guy was. I saw him running his mouth.
That guy.
But honestly, thank you everybody for watching. I hope that we made the gears turn in your head, whether you are for or against teaching gun safety in schools. I want to know. So if you are not catching this live, I want your thoughts. I want your comments. Let us know how you feel, and let us know if you would be willing, like Rebecca said, would you be willing to go and become a school board member just so that you can help bring this about? Because the only way this works is if we make it happen. That's what grassroots means. It means we don't wait for somebody else to do it. It means, what is it that Tony Simon always says? Are you going to talk about it, or are you going to be about it? So it's time that we be about it, everybody. So go talk, get on the school board, or help somebody else get on the school board who's going to do a good job if you don't want that to be you. But even if you don't have kids like I don't, you're still paying taxes in a school district.
Yeah.
And what happens with the young generation is still going to affect you down the road too. So let's make sure that these kids get taught the things that they need to get taught. So on behalf of Rebecca and Gary and Travis, Pat, Paul, Defense Dad, Mike, Sandhill Sweetheart, and myself, thank you for joining us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Get those comments in. Smash that like button. Smash the share button. And we'll catch you next week. We've got, I think, one more episode before we go on hiatus and the season ends. We'll come back in December with season 3. But we've got one more episode next week. Not sure what we're going to talk about, but I'll try and make it worthwhile. And thanks. God bless you. We love you. It's time to go. Get off my lawn.
Stay safe. Carry your weapon.